remember to lock up our cars. We all remember to double check our houses and make sure that the kids don't stay out past their curfew. But when it comes to our online privacy, we tend to get a little forgetful. So joining us today is David Ryan Polgar. He's a tech expert and advocate with cyberwise.org. Today we're talking online safety, and the first one, have a good password.
The scene is pretty simple. There's a great scene in Spaceballs where they they grab the princess. They say, "Tell us the password," and the king says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What was the most popular password last year?
Was it that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So change your password, make it complicated, use a password manager.
Password manager? What's that?
Yeah, they have that just to kind of keep track if you have 10, 15 different passwords, different ways to kind of change it up every few months.
See, I'm nervous that the password manager would get hacked.
That's what you wonder. I mean, it'll probably change in the future where we have thumbprints or some other way, eye recognition, but until then, passwords are a necessary evil.
Yeah. See, I want to have a little notebook that I keep in a lockbox with all my passwords, so no one's getting at them.
A lot of people do. They open it up and they've got 12 post-it notes.
And it's one of those things, you're going to have a dozen passwords. It's unavoidable,
sure,
but we need to embrace it because
we do.
How we stay safe.
Passwords get stolen a bunch, so definitely change them up. Don't have the same password for your social network as you might have for your email. Or
Next tip.
Like
sure. Keep your privates private.
Keep your privates private. Be careful. Once you free Willy, you don't know what's going to happen with that, right? You'll have the reputation of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, you don't want that. Because you have a smartphone, it doesn't prevent you from making dumb decisions. And the problem is, ever since the invention of photography, we've wanted to take ourselves in the flesh. The downside is our privates today don't stay private, right? And a lot of times they're sent to a significant other, and that significant other next year might not be your significant other. And a lot of times with that frustration comes, the sending of this.
And there's all these apps. There's Snapchat. I know it's really popular with the kids these days, but they say the photos expire. They don't, because there's so many ways to save them.
Big area, and even Facebook right now, Slingshot, they're working on that idea of a disappearing type of chat or sending a message and then having it kind of disappear. The downside is people are still able to take some type of screenshot. Granted, they might be alerted because of it, but you never want to think that something is really going to be temporary. Anything that is taken and spread, it has that potential to spread. And that can be very negative sometimes, negative consequences connected with cyberbullying for kids. So really for parents, they want to have that conversation with their children to say, okay, be really mindful of this. A smartphone really is kind of like driving. It's giving somebody huge access and responsibility.
It is a tremendous amount of responsibility.
It's a ton of responsibility.
And that's where open dialogue comes in, which is another one of your points. It's so important that you have that conversation, and it can be uncomfortable.
Right, it can be very uncomfortable, kind of like the the birds and the bees. Right now, we're talking about
the 21st century birds and the bees conversation.
Birds and the bees. That's what's going on, because the problem is parents tend to be a little bit behind the curve, right? Parents are saying, "What is this Twitter on the interwebs?" Right?
What is the Facebook?
What is the Facebook? Right? The downside is parents are always going to be a year or two behind the trends, right? So they need to have that open dialogue to find out what kids are actually using, because they tend not to use a product once their mother and father get on that product. So everybody and their grandmother's hairdresser right now is on Facebook, which potentially is causing certain kids to, it is certainly becoming less popular for certain generations. So they're getting into more type of Snapchat types of deals. So you want to have that dialogue with your family.
Now, lastly, we're running out of time, but be mindful of imposters, because that's scary stuff.
That's the whole catfishing area, because we used to tell kids, be careful of an old man, giving out candy. But the problem is that old man in that tinted window van now can look like an attractive female,
because he's behind the screen, just like everybody else.
It's somebody's avatar. So you have to put in a certain level of mindfulness for a child or for an adult to trust but verify type of Reagan-esque idea. Right? You really have to know that somebody can easily be an imposter.
David, as always, great tips.
Thank you, Seth.
Pleasure to have you here. But now